Yes, I know I'm quite late to review the Mavic Pro. It's been out for a while. This is the latest version, so they revised it a little bit. They just tweaked the blades on it, basically, is the only real difference in the fancy new paint job. It's the Mavic Pro Platinum. Now, these new blades will increase the flight time up to 30 minutes now, which is a few more minutes over the original model. But most importantly, they cut down on that horrible whining noise that drones make. And let's admit, they do make a hell of a noise, especially my Mi drone. That one is significantly louder than this. So it's around about 5 decibels quieter now, and that increased flight time is always good to have. Now, I started with the Mi drone because I didn't want to start out with such an expensive drone and end up crashing it. So that is why I didn't get this one to begin with. But in hindsight, I really should have got this to start with because it's super easy to fly. There's also a beginner mode that keeps it really close to you so you don't end up losing it or crashing it if you're worried about that and you're starting out. Now, the drone itself isn't cheap, so that's why I went for the Mi drone first, and that is probably the biggest and only real con that I've found of this drone so far. So because there's so many reviews of this out already, I'm going to just quickly cover the unboxing, have a look at the drone, and just quickly, very quickly and briefly cover setting it up. I'm not going to go into too much detail there with the application. And my first flight footage, as well as some other sample footage of what you can expect quality-wise here from the Mavic Pro Platinum. Taking a look now at what you get inside the box. So this is just the standard edition one. It's not the Fly More combo pack. You can get that pack with extra batteries in it, and it works out to be cheaper than if you were just to buy the separate batteries then. So you get the controller, of course. It's not like the Spark. The Spark, when I got that, it just came with the drone itself, and it was an extra to buy the controller. We've got some cables here. So we have a power supply cable. That's right there. And we do have 2 adapters. Now this is for the controller. The controller comes with an the iPhone plug already in there, but then you can swap that out for micro USB 2 or Type-C. So that's going to cover every single mobile phone out there. You'll be able to plug that in directly to the controller. I'll show you how to set up that in just a second with the application and everything else. The drone's packed up quite nicely in there, and this sadly is not really a transport hard case like the likes you get with the Spark. So when I got my Spark, you could actually use that case to transport around the drone, and it did offer a decent level of protection. So I'll probably end up buying a hard case for this just to keep the drone safe. And then lastly, we have here some instruction manuals and leaflets. I won't go into that. And then here is the charger for it to charge up the drone with that funny looking connector on it. The charger also has 2 USB ports on here, so that's one of them you could use to charge your mobile phone, the other one used to charge the controller. So it's rather handy having this. Now don't forget to remove these little plastic tabs that are covering up the sensors. If you forget to do that, then the front-facing collision avoidance sensor there, those little cameras, might not work properly and it could end up crashing into something. The gimbal also has a clip on it here, so you need to remove that. It's just securing it in place, so when it's in transit, that gimbal's not going to be moving around the whole time. Now with the clip removed, you can see the gimbal is free and it will rattle around. So if you are going to be going somewhere and you put this in a backpack, it's probably wise to maybe put that clip back in there just to lock out the gimbal and stop it from getting damaged. Now you do also get a couple of spare blades. So you get 2 clockwise and 2 counterclockwise blades. On the right of the drone, you'll find a micro USB 2 port. And on the left is where the micro SD card slot is, and a switch there to put it into the wireless or the radio controller modes. And there's also a little tiny status LED there for the micro SD card. You can see when it's writing to it, it'll flash. Along the bottom of the Mavic Pro, you find an array of sensors here. So we have 2 downwards firing sensors and then another 2 sensors there that actually ping the ground so it can detect the distance. This is all used in the auto hover modes, and it's used, of course, when it's landing as well. When you tell it to return home and it lands by itself, that's when these sensors here come into play. On the top, we have the power button and 4 status LEDs. So each of those LEDs represents 25% battery life, and you just tap the button and it will tell you what the status of the battery is. You can see at the moment it's somewhere in between 25% and 50% battery out of the box. Charging the drone takes approximately 1 hour to get it to 100% from flat, and the controller's quite slow. That takes around 3 to 4 hours to fully charge. Now the fan blades is where a major redesign has taken place here. They are slightly different and they do offer around 5 decibels less noise output, which is great, and increase the flying time up to a maximum of 30 minutes. But in real world use, I get around 25 minutes, 26. It depends on how close you want to push it with the remaining battery life. Now you should probably unfold the blades into the lock position that's marked on the top of them. It's hard to see. There's a little tiny icon right here, so you lock them into place, but don't worry, if you forget to do it properly, the centrifugal force will force them into the lock place anyway once it starts to spin at maximum speed, like takeoff. Overall, the build of the drone is excellent. It is top notch here. Now there's only one thing that's probably the fragilest thing on there, and that's of course the propeller blades. They are super fragile, so if they were to clip or hit a tree or a branch or something like that on a tree, then they would get damaged straight away. If you're wondering about the camera spec, it's 12 megapixels with an f2.2 aperture, and of course it shoots up to 4K, something that my DJI Spark didn't do. That was only 1080p maximum, which is a slight disappointment, but the quality of this camera I found to be really quite good. But we'll have a look at some samples in just a minute in this video. Quick look at just how much the drone weighs. So the Mavic is 747 grams, which isn't bad at all, and of course it folds down to a really nice portable, transportable size. So when you power it on, you can hear the fan come on after a while. There's a fan to cool it in both the drone and the controller, so that's really good. It's going to make sure the components aren't going to overheat. Now I won't go into a lot of details here, but your basic controls are, we have the sticks here of course, so this is to gain altitude, decrease altitude, rotate the drone left and right. This is to move forward, to move backwards, to move to the left and right as well with this stick. So the controls are pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Now I do recommend probably starting off in beginner mode if you've just first got a drone or you're new to drones. On the controller here we have the sport mode. So enabling the sport mode puts it into a performance mode, and again probably recommend keeping that off if you are new to this drone. I'm going to keep it off because I've just first got this. And up the top here we have the controls for the camera. So this is to start and stop recording. This is to take a photo. And right here we have the control here for the gimbal tilt. So if you use this, you can tilt the gimbal all the way down and get one of those shots there, bird's eye view, straight down looking at you when you take off is quite nice. Of course, you can angle that however you want to look at various different things. This dial here is for the exposure. We also have some buttons on the back there that you can customize. All of the controls can be customized. And we get a basic readout here of information that is displayed on here. So a battery for the controller, battery life for the drone as well as this top one here. The signal of the remote to the drone, which is very important. Now because of local laws here, I cannot test the range and altitude of this drone. There's plenty of other videos that do that, so check those out. This tells you here the clearance you have, the height, and then the distance the drone is away from you. It's pretty self-explanatory. Now this little button here is very important as well. Tapping this will auto return to home and it will start the landing procedure. You can also use the app to take off and land. Now when you set it up with the app, it will also run through the controls for you and let you know what the actual controller screen readout is. So there it's telling you exactly what everything is there, because there's a few things that I did leave off there. I'm just being brief. Now I'll very quickly run through the application here, what controls we have, but I won't go into a lot of detail. So the control modes we have is simply clicking that, what looks like the controller icon. So you've got quick shot, active tracking, tap to fly using the map, tripod mode, gesture mode, and there are quite a few other ones here. Cinematic mode, you've got terrain, follow, point of interest, home lock, waypoints, follow me. So there's a lot in there to go through and test out, all of which I cannot possibly cover in this video unless it was going to be like an hour long. Now camera settings will be found here, so you're able to adjust a lot of things there. You can tweak, of course, if you want to record higher frame rates but lower resolutions. Here I've got it set to 4K 30 frames per second, and you're able to change all of this, of course. So if you decide that, hang on, I want 1080p but I want to record with 96 frames per second or 60 frames per second, to halve that and get some slow-mo, that's all possible here, of course, and you're able to do that through this. Now it does give you a lot of information here. It's a little bit overwhelming to start with, but one of the key things you should really concentrate on probably would just be these buttons here. So there's your takeoff button and your landing when you're starting out. There's the map there telling you exactly where you are. A lot of various different information there as well too. And it gives you information, reads out on your signal. Your GPS signal, of course, I don't have at the moment because I'm indoors. Tapping this will also record, so it's just started to record now, and it pays to tap the screen to sometimes focus too. I remember when this model first came out, a lot of people had footage that looked a little bit blurry because they had the focus off. They didn't focus it properly. So that's a lot of things to remember, I know, once you're taking this off and you're flying it around, but you get the hang of it, and it's all just a learning curve, of course, which will take a little while after a few flights.
Take off.
And there we go.
We are up. Been updated. Please check it on the map.
And you can see me there in the camera. Beautiful day here, by the way. So the drone is still quite loud, as you can hear, but it's not as bad. Definitely not as bad as my Mi. The Mi drone 4K, that was pretty horrendous. Obstacle. So it's just telling me that obstacle is me, of course. It's tracking me right there. You can see on the app. We do have different modes, but first I want to just get around. We'll check out the area here a little bit. So I'll just gain some altitude. And we're going to head over towards, I'll just give you a view now of the mountain range here. So just pan around again. So that's the Mongo there. Now I'm in an area where there are some abandoned houses. There's no other houses around. Pretty much a safe area to be flying this drone here. I need to keep the aircraft in visuals the whole time here, according to the Spanish law. Okay, so here we go. Full power ahead. Gonna head over towards, just gain a little bit more altitude, towards the Tower of Iron, well, the Torre de Hierro. You can just see it there. Actually, I'll try and get it in a picture. Just bring the gimbal down a little bit. So just move around here now to the, just rotate the aircraft around. There you go, you can see it right now. So that's the Iron Tower there in the background, and the Mediterranean coast there. I still have visuals on the drone, so that is good. Let's gain some more altitude. Very quiet day here, and that drone's not actually making too much noise. I mean, it's not bad for a drone. So happy, and noticeable noise difference there. So I'm just going to bring it down a little. Got the autofocus on, so hopefully that's keeping everything in focus. And let's head out now towards that tower. That's my little point of interest. 17th century defense tower to alert the town if there were pirates, apparently. So you can still see the drone here. Let's get a little closer towards it. So down towards this way here we have the town. That's all Las Rodas area you can see right now. And in the far distance you will see the castle, which is pretty much right now where I'm going to be focusing the camera on. Just touch there on the screen. So that's the castle right there. And pretty good day. I mean, the visibility isn't quite 100%. It's a little bit hazy, but it's not bad. And battery life was still at 89%, which is great. Giving me a little bit of time to test out some things like the sports modes and whatnot. And we'll just pan around here. We'll test out the tracking too in this video. So there are a few houses nearby, but what you're looking at right now, all this complex is actually called, well, the unofficial name is the Ghost Town. It's all it's abandoned. Okay, it's been like this since the 80s. They didn't have the permit for it, so I'm not flying over anyone's houses or anything like that. So I'm not going to be, annoying anyone. So I'll bring it back now towards me. It's making so much less noise than the Mi drone. So see what it's like now when it descends, because that's the noisiest. Bringing it down. Okay, it's not exactly quiet. You can still definitely hear that. Down towards me here. Yeah, still a little noisy, but that is just so much quieter. Okay, so we're just going to rotate it around here, point it back towards me, right onto me here. So I'm going to go into the tracking mode. So you've got the different modes here. If you touch that little control icon, we've got active track, you've got the tripod mode, tap to fly using the map, of course. Gestures, I won't go into that. There's loads of videos that cover all of this kind of thing. If I was to go into every single thing that this has, this drone, we would be here for 30 minutes or an hour or so. So there I am again. I'll get it to track me now. Okay, so it's tracking me. You hit go. This is exactly like the Spark. Speed priority, you can set a few other things. You can get it to sort of fly around you too and things like that. So just run over here. See, it's keeping me in the shot the whole time. Now, hopefully I can use this when I go mountain biking, because I actually mountain bike along here. It's a trail. Go flick it back into sport mode. Pick things up again here. It's doing almost 60 kilometers per hour. There we go, landed and done. So this is a fantastic drone here, the Mavic Pro, and the Platinum gives you just a slight little tweak to the propellers, so it makes about 5 decibels less noise, gives you a few more minutes of flight time, and I'll take that. You always want to get extra minutes, but is it worth upgrading to this model? Well, no, existing Mavic Pro owners wouldn't be upgrading. You just go out and buy the new blades. That's all you need to do, because the rest of it is exactly the same there. So it's a very easy drone to fly. It's got a lot of advanced features, the tracking mode, the orbit mode, the collision avoidance. Sport mode as well is quite a bit of fun because it really picks up, and you do notice that change in performance there with it. So a lot of people would probably think, hang on, this is a massive cost to pay if I'm new to starting out with drones. And yes, it is. That is why I personally did not start out with the Mavic Pro. I went for a cheaper option, which was the Xiaomi Mi Drone 4K, and I feel that that drone really does offer a lot. Now, it doesn't have the portability of this. This only weighs about 750 grams. It folds down, and the Mi drone is quite bulky. It weighs well over a kilo, and you can only fold down the legs on it, but the 4K footage I found to be quite similar to what's on offer here. It's not as good, so the footage on the Mavic Pro, yes, is a notch up, a level above that, but I feel for the price, that is probably a good drone to start out with. Now, the Spark, I also reviewed that, so check that out over here and take a look at my Mi Drone 4K review there as well. There really is no cons to this drone, apart from the fact that, yes, it is very expensive, and if I was to be picky, I do feel that they could have made the box also act as a case